I'm Brett Clark, and if you know me, which you don't, you'd know a couple of things I enjoy: ghosts and booze. That's why I made it a point to quit everything I'm doing to venture out and visit some of America's most haunted pubs, bars, and distilleries. No night investigations. These are just good old-fashioned ghost stories straight from the owners and staff themselves. Maybe even told over a brew or two, 3, 4. Because this is Haunt Hops. This trip takes me to the thriving community of Hickory, North Carolina, and a historic home called the Harper House.
My name is Dustin Crowley. I'm the site manager here at Harper House with the Historical Association of Catawba County. I oversee all of the tours that we do, the special events, historical research, the narrative, and preserving the stories of the families that lived in this house. I am the president of Great State Paranormal. Been in the field for about a little over 15 years, specializing in paranormal events. I am also a practicing demonologist, as well as an exorcist. Been around.
We're in the attic here, everybody, if you didn't notice, which you have a speakeasy.
Yes. The third notable family that moved into this house, they were lawyers. Like most lawyers, especially in the 1920s, you were kind of selective on what laws you wanted to follow and what you didn't want to follow. And especially everyone that was in this area in the 1920s, they didn't like the 18th Amendment, so they just kind of ignored it.
Tell me, what did you concoct here for this speakeasy event right now?
Oh, hey, I mean, it's a speakeasy. So, prohibition. Gin is the drink of choice. I went with a French 75. Yeah, I mean, you can't beat it. Lemon.
No, this is great.
A little bit of sugar, gin, champagne. It's refreshing, and especially
Perfect.
In a Victorian attic where it is not very cool.
Yeah. No, it's perfect for a day like this because it's the humidity is high. Tell me a little brief history about the Harper House.
The most concise version I'll give you. It was built in 1887 by D.W. Schuler. He was the first banker in Hickory. In fact, before he came into town, this was just called Hickory Tavern, and it was just a stop on the railroad. So he comes in town, he builds the first bank, and he really starts to build this community around himself and the businesses that he had. He passes away in 1890, not long after coming in town. A little bit of mystery about that. Some people say he might have faked his death. There's definitely some evidence out there to kind of support that. And then the next owner of the home, she comes in 1892. Her name is Elizabeth Thornton. And what's crazy, she's a woman, and she owns this house in the 1890s. Women couldn't have bank accounts until mid-1900s. The synopsis on her is she was a cougar. She is on her third husband by the time she comes here. She's very wealthy. She is a socialite, and she was a woman of power. And then, after she passes away, the next notable family that comes in is the Harper families in 1923. And the Harpers, in various iterations, lived in this same house up until 1999, when it was sold to the Historical Association.
I noticed one thing up here in the speakeasy are these silhouettes painted on the walls. What's the story with this?
This was your price of admission. In order to get up here, Gwen Harper Sr. himself would draw your face on the wall. This way, let's say George Lyerly, who was actually the next door neighbor.
Okay.
If he got mad at the Harpers, let's say one of the kids knocked the ball over into his yard, whatever. Well, if he's gonna rat it out to the cops, he can, but his picture's always on the wall. So
Gotcha. Okay.
If anyone goes down, we all go down.
That's ingenious.
That being said, I mean, not only were the next door neighbors here, but you had a ton of people. So you also have the chief of police, you have the mayor.
Oh,
I
nice.
mean, it kind of reads like almost most of those like murder mystery noir films.
Yeah. You did mention that you were a paranormal investigator.
Mm-hmm.
So being on this property as the site manager's got to be interesting because you've had some mysterious run-ins here.
We've had a ton of different activities come up. Now, Some of it, theoretically, is coming over because there's a hospital nearby. And there's a theory that maybe some spirits are coming over that have passed from the hospital. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, that's the thing with our field. We never really know. However, the one that we do know for a fact is here would be Elizabeth Thornton, the second owner of the house. She is a very particular, ornery woman.
Oh, really?
Things have to be exactly the way she wants them.
No kidding.
So in the past, with the last site manager, there was a time where she got locked in the basement.
Oh.
And the basement just is a sliding latch. And she had to call someone to open the storm doors to get her out.
Oh, no.
And then when she went into the kitchen, the latch was not locked.
Oh, no way.
And it's an old house. Some of the doors get a little bit swollen in the heat. However, one door that does not get swollen in the heat is the basement door. Another thing that happened is one time the cabinet drawers were all open when the previous site manager went into the kitchen, and she had previously closed all of them. Now, all of this was before we came in and before we figured out what was going on. Once we knew that Elizabeth was here and we kind of got some information from her on how she likes to keep things, we've not had that extreme of an activity. That being said, a couple of months ago, we had a photo shoot for a quinceañera, and the birthday girl's dress had a lot of glitter on it. And as you can imagine, that glitter got everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
She looked beautiful and the photos came out great, but glitter. Elizabeth was not happy about glitter being in her house. And so she caused some of the lights to have some issues. And we ended up having to replace the switch, replace a couple of light bulbs. And it was right before I was going to call our executive director and tell her, hey, we've got to bring in an electrician and rewire a light. And I go back in later that night to cut the house off, and the light's on, and it hasn't had an issue since. One of the things that we've done that has been crazy up here is we will play jazz music.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And then we will use K2 meters and allow spirits to come and play 21. So what we'll do is we'll have a deck of cards and they can spike the meter for a hit.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I know it sounds crazy, but so much of this field does. When they go over 21, we'll see the EMF meters just spike red for like 10, 15 seconds.
Oh, no way.
Because they're angry.
Yeah.
And then if someone wins, you'll see the meter kind of fluctuate, kind of like they're celebrating.
That's interesting.
It is, and if you'd have told me 10 years ago that I'm gonna play blackjack with a ghost using a K2 meter, I told you you're crazy.
So that was up here, right?
Yeah.
Which table?
We've done it at this table
Okay.
and that table.
That's a cool story. I've not heard anything like that before.
When you're in a unique place, you gotta try unique stuff.
Good point.
Listen, if you're a paranormal investigator and you go into every single place and you have your dowsing rods and your spirit box and your K2 meter, why would you do the same thing everywhere? You gotta tailor it to who you're talking to.
That's a tip. You mentioned something interesting that happened when a medic chopper was leaving nearby. Can you tell us that story?
It's one of those rare cases, and part of how the paranormal field is never going to be a traditional science because it's never going to be 100% replicatable. So there was a helicopter that left with a patient, and while the helicopter was leaving, of course, but I can literally see the hospital outside of these windows. It is maybe, what would you say, 300 yards away?
Yeah, it's just right across the road.
So when this helicopter took off, it is loud. We were in one of the bedrooms using a spirit box. And on the spirit box, we got the word goodbye. And that came through as the helicopter was taking off. Now, at the same time, everything else was like redlining to K2 meter spiking, you name it, it was going nuts, which is perfectly explainable because of all of the energy that it takes to get a helicopter off the ground. That's not saying it's haunted, people. You've got to debunk stuff sometimes. However, what we found out later is the patient who was being airlifted passed away as soon as the helicopter lifted off. So at the same time that we got the word goodbye on the spirit box, the patient was passing. And again, can I 100% tell you that those two are correlated and that is evidence of the paranormal? I cannot. Can I say that this is a very interesting coincidence, if nothing else? Absolutely.
What type of haunting would you say you have here?
When it comes to Elizabeth, very intelligent.
Okay.
You hear that? I've got to come back to the work here tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah.
But with the other ones, it sometimes seems more residual. It seems like some people are just passing through. So what we say is we have one permanent residence, and then sometimes we have visitors.
You do have public events here where you could welcome the public, not only tours, but actual paranormal investigations. Is that correct?
We do. We offer, for one, we have history tours every Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 3 o'clock on the hour. But then we also have special events periodically. So we have ghost hunt events where the public can pay to come in and get led through a ghost hunt. And then you can also pay to stay until 3 a.m. and do a free roam.
Oh, nice.
And we also have a haunting of Harper House that we do in October, where we tell the ghost stories of the house of North Carolina and really just Victorian macabre culture. I mean, they were fascinated with death, and they have a ton of superstitions and legends and folklore, and it's just a really good, creepy, family-friendly experience. You can find it on our Facebook. It is Harper House / the Hickory History Center. You can also go to catawahistory.org, and you can actually get your tickets to our regular history tours, as well as the Haunting of Harper House and the Christmas tours on that website.
Sweet.
And then if it's any of the ghost hunts, whatever team is hosting that, we have that plugged on Facebook.
We'll put that up there for sure so everybody can see and get over here, because this is a slick historic home, and it's in great shape. The wallpaper is, most of the wallpaper is...
The wallpaper is an experience.
Yeah, it's insane.
It
awesome.
is on the walls, it's on borders, it is on ceilings.
Yeah.
If you've never seen wallpaper on the ceiling, y'all, you gotta come see some of this stuff. I would encourage any of your viewers, if you wanted to come and visit Harper House, the Historical Association of Catawba County has 4 historical sites, and they are all right in the same vicinity.
Oh, cool.
So I would be remiss if I don't also plug the Catawba County Museum of History in Newton, North Carolina. And we also have Bunker Hill Covered Bridge in Catawba. And we have Murray's Mill. It is a functioning mill village. And that is also in Catawba, North Carolina.
Awesome.
So if you're gonna come from out of town and visit me, I'd love you to. Make a day of it and visit the rest of our sister sites.
You lead the paranormal, yeah, that's great.
I do.
So you can come out here, see Dustin, and thank you for this great cocktail, because I am downing it.